Good day traders, this is Stefanos on behalf of Tixee, and in today's video we'll be giving an outlook of the market for the week of the 28th of March until the 1st of April. As always, before we get started, please know that all of the ideas discussed in this webinar are my own opinions and do not make up for any form of investment or trading advice, neither any recommendations to buy or sell. You should always do your own research and due diligence before buying or selling any securities, financial products or instruments, and whether you use any kind of trading strategies. Any information that relates to past performance is not indicative of future results. As always, we'll be kicking things off with stocks. Now, looking at next week, I would definitely be interested in watching any cybersecurity or defense-related stocks, as well as any energy-related stocks such as BP, ExxonMobil, and so on and so forth. As we can see with the conflict in Ukraine, it's far from over. Despite the fact that there was some progress made with regards to getting down to peace talks. However, with that being said, they were still ongoing despite any rumors of it potentially coming to an end soon. We also had US President Biden urging businesses last week on heightening their cybersecurity as well as intelligence on Russia, pointing to basically the heightened risk of cyber attacks. So we can see how this sector could see even more volatility in the coming weeks. With regards to energy-related stocks, like we said, there's quite a few to look into, one of them being BP, the other one being ExxonMobil, and then there's another one called Chevron Corporation, which is based out of the US as well. So there's quite a few main players with regards to energy-related stocks, and obviously with the ongoing conflict, if we see oil prices basically rising even further, that these stocks could obviously benefit from that as well, since that's their main line of business. Now, moving on to Forex, looking at the economic calendar as always in preparation for next week. Again, this is always something that you can find from Tixee's website. All you need to do is just simply go to the homepage. You can click on the logo in the top left. You can navigate on the Education and Research tab, and then you'll find the economic calendar. It's the third option. Now again, you can always readjust the data according to your liking, as we always mention. The time zone in my case is going to be GMT 0, which is UK's time zone. Obviously, we're looking at next week, so I'll be setting the tab here to next week. And again, with regards to importance, you can choose which events you like to keep an eye on. But for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna keep medium and high impact events for now. So looking at the calendar, on Monday, what we're gonna be getting in the late hours UK time. So obviously it's gonna be morning hours in Japan. We'll be having the unemployment rate coming out from the Bank of Japan, and obviously this is something that's directly gonna be affecting the Japanese yen. So any currencies, either it's cross currencies or major pairs, you can obviously keep an eye on Japanese yen. You can always use this tooltip right here to gauge more or less how much volatility we can expect in the hours following the release of the event. Then going on to Tuesday, which is going to basically be half an hour or 40 minutes after the release from the Bank of Japan. We're going to be having the retail sales figure coming out of Australia. And then later during the day, coming out of the US, we're going to be having the consumer confidence figure. Then moving on to Wednesday, we're going to be having the business confidence figure coming out of New Zealand. We're going to be having the inflation rate coming out of the Eurozone's largest economy, which is Germany. So obviously this is something that it'd be definitely an event worth keeping an eye on. And as we can see, it's also labeled as a high impact event. And then towards lunchtime, we're going to be having the GDP growth rate coming out of the US. Now, moving on to Thursday, it's going to be quite an action-packed day. As you can see, we'll be kicking things off with the UK's GDP growth rate. Afterwards, we'll have the retail sales figure coming out of Germany. We'll have inflation data coming out of France. And then following suit, again, as you can see, all of these events are still happening in the morning within a couple of hours difference between one another. And then we're also going to have the unemployment rate coming out of Germany, as well as Italy later on as well. So this would be pretty much, it would be like a Europe focused day, I would say, on Thursday. And then towards lunchtime, we're just going to be having the GDP figure coming out of Canada. So definitely an important event to keep an eye on as well. But with all that being said, Friday for me is obviously going to be the highlight of the week. The reason being is because we're going to be having the NFP report, as always, that comes out on the first Friday of each month. So if I scroll further down, you're going to be able to see that we have the unemployment rate, which is basically coming out at the same time as the non-farm payrolls, as well as the average hourly earnings. And we can see that rightfully so, these events are highlighted with the high impact label. Obviously, we also will have the inflation rate coming out of the Eurozone, which is going to be it's going to be released in the morning. But I'm pretty sure that after that figure is being released, most of the traders' attention is going to be shifting towards the NFP report, which is going to be released about 3.5 hours later. And yeah, this pretty much sums up the events that we'll be having with regards to Forex. Obviously, if there's other events that you're more keen on trading, you can obviously trade those. I'm just mentioning the events that, in my opinion, are likely going to cause the most volatility when it comes to a specific currency. Next up, we're going to be moving on to oil and gold. The key events in focus will be somewhat similar in that for both of them, in that we'll be looking at any further news about the ongoing conflict in Ukraine over the weekend. And moreover, as we mentioned earlier on with the Forex calendar, we will have the NFP report on Friday, which will not only rattle the FX markets, but expect the volatility to follow through into the commodities that are pegged against the US dollar specifically, especially if we're looking at the crude oil and gold. Now for oil as well, let's not forget, if I switch back to the economic calendar and we go back to Wednesday, we'll see that we also have the usual crude oil inventory report, which is going to be coming out at 2:30. Again, this is going to be UK time. And lastly, we'll be looking into some crypto and Bitcoin specifically. Now the narrative remains valid in what we covered in last week's outlook as well. The price, as we can see, it didn't make any significant moves away from the 21 EMA, which we can see it's been pretty much hugging for the past 3 or 4 weeks. This is basically when it started trading around it. I could even go as far as saying this is where it started, because you can see we had a close tap onto the 21 EMA here as well. But as we can see, it's still pretty much just trading around it. Now, what we've been discussing the past couple of weeks is you have this support area roundabouts here, which in my opinion, because we did have this strong push towards the downside, this looks simply like a flag consolidation, ABCD, whatever you want to call this consolidation. The key takeaway is that we're looking that prices are just ranging sideways. So we could potentially see one further push towards the downside, especially if we see that prices are unable to break above the 21 EMA, which, as we can see here, we had a pretty strong rejection right off of it. And if you can see that maybe if we get some more trapped buyers into this area here, we could see prices being pushed further lower. Now on the flip side, we also have obviously the scenario that this could already be the start of the next move up to retest the highs all the way up here, which was around $70,000. So if, for example, you can see how we break above stronger and we hold up here without any major retracements to the downside, we can see the price stair-stepping its way back up onto the highs. So yeah, definitely keep an eye into this area here, as in my opinion, it's a pretty key area right now, as the price is pretty much looking to settle on the direction on whether it's going to be back up towards the upside and towards the highs here, or back into the support area down here. And yeah, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you found it useful, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Until then, trade safe.